At the beginning of the movie, Renfield is fairly depressed as he attends a support group for those in toxic relationships. Warning, there will be spoilers. Count Dracula has adopted Richard Montague Renfield, a recognizable figure who serves as his servant. Richard had worked as a lawyer and had a family, but after being duped by the Prince of Wallachia, he became drawn to the concept of being strong and cared for by Count Dracula. He soon came to the realization that all he was doing was clearing up Dracula's trash whenever a church came to collect him. Renfield feels more prepared to confront Dracula as other members of the support group discuss how they dealt with their abusive partners. He decides to use the members' partners as food for Dracula in an effort to bring about justice for the group. Renfield encounters the city's most terrifying crime family while pursuing one of the men who had abused one of his fellow members. Lobo's son seeks after the same man whom Renfield is seeking as well. Some of his cocaine was stolen. Renfield is confronted by Lobo's killer after killing the 3 thieves of the cocaine. He consumes some bugs while fending off the assassin and delivers a blow that causes the assassin's face to fly across the room and strike Teddy Lobo's car's glass. Lobo flees in his car out of terror and arrives at a checkpoint where Officer Rebecca is present. The Lobo family murdered Rebecca's father, a law enforcement official, and Rebecca is merely looking for a reason to catch the Lobos. This is the ideal defense for her because he assaults her and her co-worker and is in possession of narcotics. But in the interim, he brings Dracula some less than innocent persons using the information that the group members supplied. The Lobo family, however, is untouchable due to their position of authority, therefore Rebecca is frequently made fun of by her co-workers and superiors. Rebecca visits the crime scene where the assassin was beheaded in order to gather evidence linking it to Teddy and the Lobos after Teddy is let go free after confessing to essentially murdering a dozen people. She discovers a pen that Renfield had used to kill one of the men instead. She gives it to her FBI agent sister, with whom she has a tense relationship. With this evidence, she is the only one she can rely on. Meanwhile, Rebecca goes to the eatery where the pen was found to gather more proof. Following his beating by Dracula for failing to bring him some nuns, a busload of cheerleaders, and some innocent tourist couples, Renfield is also there. Rebecca enters the restaurant as he considers how to escape this predicament. Teddy agrees, and while the others hide behind the tables, he raises a revolver and points it at Rebecca. Rebecca tells Teddy to shoot her while looking him in the eyes. Renfield is immediately motivated by her courage and power, and he goes in search of a bug to fortify himself. Renfield assists Rebecca in defeating Lobo's team after a bloody battle. Renfield finally realizes his own potential as Rebecca hails him as a hero. With the help of the support group members, who all believe Renfield's employer is simply egocentric, Renfield decides to establish a place for himself and alter his appearance. Unfortunately for Renfield, Dracula is able to grow stronger on his own without the assistance of his familiar, and he is now pursuing Renfield for turning him down. Dracula threatens Renfield with destroying all he cherishes and discovers the support group from the book Renfield is using to repeat affirmations. Renfield rushes to the gym where the support group meets and attempts to persuade the participants that they should leave immediately. Sadly, he fails to persuade them, and the counselor succeeds in inviting Dracula into the space. Dracula decimates the entire area while Renfield is tossed across the room in slow motion. Shortly after Rebecca arrives at the crime site to locate Renfield, the main suspect. She takes him in to arrest, and just as they are ready to go to jail, the entire police force appears to instruct her to give Renfield to the Lobos. Rewinding a little, Teddy seeks out Renfield to exact revenge for all the members of his team he murdered. He encountered Dracula there, who is now seeking world dominance and an army of the dead for himself. As a result, his mother, the family's matriarch, has been looking for him since he went away. Due to Rebecca's quick thinking, Renfield and she are able to flee and hide in his flat. During their private time together, Renfield tells Rebecca about his journey with Dracula. She refuses to pardon him but concedes that he might not be a bad guy after all. When they decide to leave, the police and the Lobo team have already shown up to take them away. When Renfield discovers his neighbor's ant farm, he promptly submerges it. He then goes on to brutally kill everybody who gets in his way, severing a man's limbs from his body and using them as katanas to protect Rebecca. After much struggle, they eventually manage to flee. Teddy eventually makes his way back home while carrying Dracula's coffin. Dracula and Teddy's mother have an odd sexual tension, which causes them to immediately ally with one another. When Rebecca calls Kate her sister, Mrs. Lobo answers. At the same time as Dracula uses telecommunication, Renfield is also aware that the Lobos are collaborating with Dracula. In order to save her sister Kate, Rebecca makes the decision to return to the Lobos' house. She persuades Renfield by expressing her belief in his ability to be a force for good. He can face Dracula with assurance because she accepted him for who he is. A number of other familiars, including Teddy, who share the same power as Renfield, are in front of Rebecca and Renfield. Rebecca goes in search of her sister, but she has already died. They are engaged in a fierce struggle, and Renfield and Teddy are still engaged in it. Rebecca receives an offer from the Count. He will revive Kate if she agrees to help him realize his aspirations of world dominance and a just society. Rebecca appears to concur but really removes the room's blinders, betraying Dracula. He succeeds in escaping by transforming into a group of bats. Dracula snatches Rebecca into the air while she tries to fight him. She accidentally shoots him in the foot, causing Renfield to regain consciousness and regain strength. Renfield escapes the violent relationship with the help of the group's affirmations and makes valiant attempts to knock the Count to the ground. Of all, he lacks the actual power necessary to slay an immortal creature that depends on blood to survive. Rebecca, Renfield, with some help from Tumblr and some cocaine, manage to put together a safety circle. They now possess Dracula. They employ all of the weaponry in the area, which is a lot given that it is Lobo's lair. Dracula is eventually dispatched for good by being cut up into little pieces and pressed into cement. Prior to that, they are able to save his blood, revive Rebecca's sister, and revive the support group. Thank you for watching.